Welcome to the deep dive. Ever been in a conversation, understanding all the words, but still feeling like something's missing? That little bit of naturalness, like there's this flow native speakers just have. I've definitely felt that. And often that something really boils down to phrasal verbs.
Absolutely.
So today we're diving deep into this whole puzzle, our mission to, well, demystify them, why they're so important, why they can feel like this secret code sometimes, and crucially, how you can really master them. We've got a great stack of sources here, expert grammar guides, linguistic studies, going to give you the clearest picture we can.
And it's really fascinating, isn't it? Our sources really hammer home just how much everyday English hangs on these little combinations.
Yeah.
Phrasal verbs aren't, just some footnote in a grammar book. They're fundamental, foundational, really, for sounding natural.
Right.
Some studies suggest, I think it was over 40%, something like that, of verbs, just casual chat or phrasal verbs. Native speakers use them constantly.
Without thinking.
Wow, 40%.
No?
Yeah. And without them, learners can sound, well, a bit too formal, or as one source put it, kind of robotic.
Robotic, yeah, I could see.
Think about it. You could say, I will cancel the meeting. Perfectly fine grammar.
Sure.
But a native speaker. Much more likely to say, I'll call off the meeting. It's that little shift. That's what makes the difference.
Okay, let's unpack that. You said call off, the off part. You mentioned particles earlier. For someone maybe not deep in grammar, what are these particles exactly? And why do they matter so much here?
Great question. Yeah, so basically, a phrasal verb is this multi-word thing, a main verb plus one or more of these particles.
Okay.
And particle here is just a term for those small words, often prepositions like up, down, on, off, sometimes adverbs that latch onto the verb.
Gotcha.
The magic, or maybe the tricky part, is when they combine. They don't just add a bit of direction or something. They often completely change the verb's meaning.
Ah, right.
The classic one is give up. If you give up something, like smoking, you're quitting. You're not literally handing smoke over to someone.
No.
It's a whole new idea, new meaning made by those two words together.
So it's less a secret code and more like understanding these fluid little meaning units that native speakers just, use.
Exactly. Intuitive for them, maybe not so much for learners.
Which brings us right to it. Why are they so tough for English learners? Our sources dig into this quite a bit.
They really do. And there are a few big reasons. First, just the sheer number of them.
Yeah.
Take a simple verb like turn. You get turn, turn on, turn out, turn in, turn into, turn up, turn down, turn around.
Wow, okay.
And that's just scratching the surface. Each one means something different, often completely unrelated to just turning.
Right.
Second, they're often idiomatic. This is a huge one. And the sources point out, sometimes the lack of a similar structure in your own language makes it feel extra weird. You often just can't guess the meaning from the parts. Like, if a cake turns out well, that means it was surprisingly good, right?
Yeah.
Totally different from turn left when you're driving. It's about understanding the whole phrase, this English concept package, not just translating the words.
A concept package. I like that.
Third thing, many phrasal verbs have multiple meanings, like lots.
Oh, great. More complexity.
Yeah. We just said turn up, right? It can mean increase the volume, turn up the radio, or it can mean arrive. He don't turn up for the meeting.
Ah, okay. Context is key then.
Totally key.
Yeah.
And figuring that out quickly, that's tough. They're like little linguistic chameleons.
Chameleons.
Fourth, subtle nuances. These can be really tricky, especially if your first language doesn't make the same fine distinctions, like look after someone. It implies watching over them, keeping them safe and well.
Right.
It's not quite the same as maybe care for, which might be more direct care. Tiny difference, but it matters for sounding natural.
Okay.
And finally, they're used mostly in spoken, informal English, which means the rules can feel a bit looser, less rigid than formal writing, so they can feel slippery, hard to pin down, especially if, again, your own language works differently, maybe more formally, or just doesn't bundle meanings up like this.
That sheer quantity thing you mentioned, that sounds pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
Do you really need to learn, like, all of them? Or are there key ones that give you more bang for your buck?
That's a really practical point. And no, definitely not. You don't need to learn every single one immediately. That'd be impossible.
Phew. Okay.
The sources strongly suggest focusing on the most common ones, especially those you hear in everyday situations. If you can master even, say, a few dozen really frequent ones, that'll make a huge difference to your fluency and understanding.
Okay. Strategic learning, not just brute force memorization.
Exactly, which is what we'll get to with the strategies.
Good. So We know what they are, why they're tricky. Let's peel back the layers on how they actually work, the mechanics. How are these little chameleons built?
Right, the structure. So as we said, it's a verb plus one or more particles. We can break it down into three main structural types.
Okay.
First, you've got verb plus preposition, like look after.
Like your example earlier.
Exactly. I need to look after my brother. After is the preposition there.
Got it.
Second type, verb plus adverb, like give up.
Our smoking example.
Yep. She decided to give up smoking. Here, up is acting like an adverb.
Okay, verb plus adverb.
And then sometimes you get verb plus adverb plus preposition. Adds another layer.
Oh, okay. Like what?
A good example is get away with. You might say he got away with cheating, meaning he escaped punishment, right?
Ah, okay. So verb, adverb, preposition, all working together.
Precisely.
And then beyond just what they're made of, the sources talk about different types based on how they behave with objects in a sentence, right?
Yeah.
Can you break those down for us, make it super clear?
Yes, absolutely. And this is really important for using them correctly. This is often where mistakes happen. There are basically four main types to think about.
Okay, 4 types.
First, separable phrasal verbs. With these, the noun can go either between the verb and the particle, or it can go after the whole phrase.
Ah, flexible then.
Right. Think turn off the lights. That works. But you can also say turn the lights off. Both are perfect.
Okay, separable. Got it.
Then you have inseparable phrasal verbs. Here, the object must come after the whole phrasal verb. No splitting allowed.
Right, like your look after one.
Exactly. You say, I look after my dog. You absolutely cannot say, I look my dog after. That just sounds wrong to a native speaker. It's a really common flag.
Okay, inseparable, keep it together.
Third type, transitive phrasal verbs. These need an object to make sense. The meaning isn't complete without one.
Okay.
Like, I'll pick up the package. You need the what? You need the package. You can't usually just say, I'll pick up and stop, unless the context makes the object obvious.
Right, needs an object. Transitive.
And fourth, intransitive phrasal verbs. These don't need an object. The meaning is complete on its own. For instance, he grew up in Berlin. Or, the car broke down on the motorway. The action's complete. No object needed.
Grew up, broke down. Okay.
And just to add a little complexity, some phrasal verbs can actually be in more than one category. Depending on the specific meaning or context, they might be separable and transitive, or inseparable and sometimes transitive, sometimes intransitive.
Oh, wonderful. Or chameleons.
Yeah. And remember that point about formality? I actually had a student once try to use kick the bucket, meaning to die, in a very formal essay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the professor was surprised, let's say. It really shows you got to know when and where to use these, not just what they mean.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Knowing the types, the structure, it all helps.
Yeah.
But that brings us to the real practical stuff. For us learners, what are the biggest traps we fall into? And how do we avoid them?
Excellent point. Knowing the pitfalls is definitely half the battle. Our sources highlight 2 mistakes that are just incredibly common.
So what are they?
The first one is about verb patterns after the phrasal verb. Just like regular verbs, some phrasal verbs have to be followed by an ing verb, a gerund, and others have to be followed by a to infinitive.
Ah, okay. So it's not just the phrasal verb itself, but what comes next too.
Exactly. For example, with ing, I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.
Right, seeing.
Notice the to there is actually part of the phrasal verb look forward to. It's not the start of an infinitive. That trips so many people up. They think to means infinitive, so they say, looking forward to see.
Ah, I can see that. Doubling feels weird sometimes.
It can. Another one, they carried on talking, not carrying on to talk, or think about make up for missing the party, or talk her out of quitting. You need that second ing.
Okay, so watch out for the required ing. What about the to infinitive ones?
Right. Some must take the to infinitive, like the man turned out to be a doctor, not turned out being a doctor.
It turned out to be.
Or, we didn't set out to win any prizes. Not set out winning. It's a pattern you have to learn for each verb, really. There's not always a clear logical why.
Right, just how it is. Okay, that's pitfall 1. What's the second big one?
The second one is pronoun position. This rule is actually quite simple, but people break it all the time.
Okay.
If a pronoun like him, her, it, us, them is the object of a separable phrasal verb.
The ones you can split.
Exactly. If the object is a pronoun, it always has to go between the verb and the particle. Always.
Always in the middle. Okay. Example?
So you'd say, we collected the books and put them away.
Put them away.
You'd never say put away them. Sounds very unnatural.
Ah, okay. That's a clear rule.
It is. Another one, I love jogging. I took it up last year.
Took it up.
Not took up it. That's a dead giveaway you're still learning. Simple rule, big impact on sounding natural.
Wow, okay. The ing versus to infinitive and the pronoun position. Those seem like really crucial details. Is there any shortcut or intuition for the verb patterns, or is it really just memorizing which is which?
Honestly, for a lot of them, it's mostly the latter. It's about exposure and practice. They've developed through usage over centuries. There isn't always a neat rule you can apply to predict it.
Right.
The important thing is knowing that these patterns exist and then using good strategies to actually learn and internalize them.
Exactly. Which leads us perfectly. This does sound like a lot to juggle, but the sources we looked at have some fantastic, really practical strategies for remembering them. So it doesn't just feel like trying to memorize a dictionary. What's the best way in? How should we approach this?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just memorizing lists isn't the way to go for actual fluency. It doesn't stick.
Yeah.
Our sources consistently point to several really solid research-backed strategies.
Okay, lay them on us.
First off, and maybe most importantly, context is key. Always try to learn phrasal verbs in context.
How do you mean?
Well, if you hear one or read one in the wild, in a movie, a song, talking to someone, look it up right then if you can. See how it was used.
Okay. Real-world examples.
Exactly. And if you're studying them more proactively, don't just learn the verb and definition. Learn it with an easy-to-remember example sentence, something relevant to you for put away, maybe put your phone away. It's simple, relatable, something you actually hear or say.
Makes sense. So context first. What else?
Second, group related verbs together. Learn them in little families. It makes them easier to manage.
Families. How?
You can group them by opposites, like learn turn on and turn off together. Simple.
Okay.
Or group by similar meanings, like throw away, throw out, get rid of. They all basically mean discard. Learning them together reinforces the concept.
Ah, okay. That's
Another really powerful way is by themes. Think. Daily life, work, relationships, travel, feelings, tech, shopping, whatever matters to you. Pick a theme like daily routine and learn the verbs. Wake up, get up, put on clothes, head out.
focusing on relevant topics.
Yeah. And you can also group them by changing particles with the same base verb. See how look changes. Look at, look for, look after, look into, look forward to. It helps you see the patterns, or lack thereof.
Right. See how that little particle changes everything. Okay. Grouping. What's next?
Third strategy, spaced repetition. Heard of this?
Vaguely. Like flashcards you review over time.
Sort of, yeah. It's scientifically proven. Instead of cramming lots of verbs at once, you review them at increasing intervals. Like, you learn it today, review it tomorrow, then 3 days, then a week, then 2 weeks.
Ah, okay. Letting your brain absorb it properly.
Exactly. That spacing helps move it from short-term recall into your long-term memory much more effectively. Way better than cramming.
Okay. Spaced repetition. Makes sense.
Fourth, personalization. This is huge. Don't just memorize example sentences from a book. Create your own sentences.
It's about my own life.
Yes. Sentences that connect to your experiences, your job, your hobbies, your friends. I need to look into that new project at work. Or, I really hit it off with Sarah. They stick so much better when they mean something to you personally.
Right. Makes it relevant.
And finally, number 5, regular practice. Obvious, maybe, but crucial. You have to actually use them.
Not just study them.
Right. Use them when you're talking to friends, colleagues, even just ordering coffee. Try slipping one in. Don't just save them for a test. Consistent active use is what builds that natural fluency.
This is brilliant. Honestly, it takes what feels like this massive, scary list and breaks it down into something you can actually tackle, maybe even fun.
Hopefully.
You mentioned consistent practice, which totally makes sense, but let's be real, that can tough to fit in, right?
Yeah.
Do the sources give any tips on making that practice feel less like homework and more natural?
They do, actually. It's about small, sustainable habits. Like, try to spot just one new phrasal verb each day, maybe from a podcast or a TV show.
Just one.
Yeah, just one. And then challenge yourself to use it in conversation or even just in your own thoughts sometime that same day.
Ah, active recall.
Exactly. Or pick a theme, like we said, maybe cooking, and try to narrate what you're doing using phrasal verbs. I need to chop up the onions, then fry them off, maybe add in some spices.
Talking to yourself? Okay.
Hey, whatever works. Even keeping a little journal where you try to use a few new ones each day, or making quick voice notes, small, regular bits of exposure and active use. That's the key.
That sounds much more doable than learn 100 phrasal verbs by Friday.
Oh.
Okay. So let's make this even more concrete. Let's talk examples from those themes you mentioned. What are some really common, useful ones that stand out from the sources?
Okay, let's do it. The sources give loads of great examples showing how common these are. So for daily life, get up is essential, right? Wake up, get out of bed, and take off. So useful. It can mean remove clothing, he took off his coat, or for a plane leaving, the flight took off late.
Okay, get up, take off, very common.
In work and business, follow up, meaning check on something later. You hear this constantly. I'll follow up with an email. And figure out to solve or understand something. We need to figure out this problem. Super frequent in offices.
Follow up, figure out. Got it. Relationships.
For relationships, fall out means to argue or disagree, like they fell out over money. And the opposite may be hit it off, meaning to connect really well quickly. We just hit it off straight away.
Fall out, hit it off. Okay, travel.
Travel and transport. Check-in is vital, right? It's at the airport, at a hotel, you have to check in online. And set off, meaning to start a journey. We set off at dawn.
Check in, set off, makes sense. What about feelings?
Emotions. Breakdown can mean, lose emotional control. She broke down when she heard the news. And maybe lighten up, meaning become less serious. Oh, lighten up, it was just a joke.
Breakdown, lighten up. Okay, technology, that must have some.
Oh, yeah, technology, hang up, still used for ending a call, even on a mobile. And back up, so important. Copying your data. Did you back up your photos?
Hang up, back up, crucial. Shopping. Money.
Shopping and money. Rip off when someone overcharges you. That taxi driver totally ripped me off. And save up, meaning save money gradually for something specific. I'm saving up for a new bike.
Rip off, save up. Good ones. And learning itself.
Definitely. Learning and education. Drop out, meaning to leave school or a course early. He dropped out of college. And look up to search for information. If you don't know the word, look it up.
Drop out, look up.
Oh.
Wow. Okay, seeing them grouped like that really shows how much they're woven into everything we talk about.
Exactly. Every aspect of life.
So to kind of wrap up, we've really dug into this, haven't we? Phrasal verbs. Absolutely essential for that natural English sound. Challenging for sure, but definitely learnable. Understanding the structure, sidestepping those common mistakes like pronoun position, and using smart strategies, context, grouping, spaced repetition, making it personal.
Spot on. It's not about instant perfection. It's about that consistent, smart effort.
Yeah. It really changes the game from just memorizing lists.
And what's so interesting, I think, is that when you start mastering these, you're not just adding words to your vocabulary list. You're genuinely tuning into the rhythm, the natural flow of actual English conversation, which maybe leads to a good final thought for you, the listener.
Okay.
Think about it. Which part of this whole phrasal verb thing feels like the biggest hurdle for you right now? Is it their idiomatic nature, the meaning being so different? Is it that many have multiple meanings? Or is it maybe those tricky grammar patterns, the ing or to infinitive thing, or where to put the pronoun?
Okay, identify your personal sticking point.
Yeah, pinpoint that, and then think. How could you use just one of the strategies we talked about today? Maybe grouping, maybe personalization, maybe focusing on context to start tackling that specific challenge. Just one step.
That's a fantastic, really actionable challenge. Don't try to boil the ocean. Just pick one thing and one strategy. I love that. Perfect way to take this forward. So keep listening, keep learning, keep noticing those phrasal verbs out there, and keep diving deep.